So Trump puts aid for Ukraine on pause. What's next? Does Donald Trump want to achieve the capitulation of Ukraine? And how do the people of America, which Trump is simply sending to the backwaters of history, feel about all this? This and other topics we will discuss right now. My name is Yuri Rashkin, and today with us is Yuri Rashkin, host of YouTube channel Rashkin Report and local elected official in Wisconsin. Yuri, hello. Thank you for joining us. Glad to see you as usual.
Thank you for the invite. And I would like to begin, Irina, by saying, first of all, and convey my deep sorrow, if not really outward shame, for the fact that my president, my government, my country is acting in this unacceptable way. And there's tens of millions of people in this country that feel just really, really terrible right now because of what's happening to Ukraine, and not for some kind of a selfish reason, but because it's just not the conscionable thing to do right now, what's happening, and it's not right. But the problem is that people on the other side, they don't see things in terms of right and wrong, and that's a big problem.
Thank you for these words. Thank you for all your helping and supporting us, and for your position. I know your position all these 3 years of full-scale war, so I have no doubts in it. And it's not your guilty, and that American people who understand that Russia is aggressor and don't understand what steps Trump does now. But start to speak about it, please. A quick question to start with. Today we got to know that Donald Trump will present some plan, and a White House official talked Fox News Digital that he will lay out his plans to end the war in Ukraine. He will also focus on the work of his administration to ensure the release of all hostages from Gaza. This plan Trump will introduce to the Congress of USA, but I think that does he really have a plan, or maybe is it Trump's plan or Putin's plan for today?
I think that we're going to see, a speech that is important historically, because State of the Union speeches are always important. That's just how they are. And in this case, this is going to be groundbreaking in any number of ways. It's kind of like expecting a testing of a nuclear device, except it's probably not a test. It's a State of the Union speech. And remember last year, that was Biden's shining moment, because at that moment, he really gave that fiery speech that really told everyone that there is no reason for anybody to run against Joe Biden, because he got this nomination wrapped up, he got this presidency wrapped up, and here we are living in a second cadence, second term of President Biden. No, it's kind of funny how things tend to work out sometimes. And now we have a president who didn't just run against Biden because Democrats and Republicans, but because apparently he was running against Biden because Biden is for democracy and Trump is for Putin. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a certain problem because American voters did not quite understand the difference. They thought that those that voted for Trump, I think judging by Russia's and Putin's popularity, which are dismally small, that is not what Trump was running on as far as his base was concerned. They were expecting to get rid of gender norms that they felt to be oppressive, and they wanted to lower prices on groceries, and they wanted life to continue as it was, because Biden made it pretty darn good, his administration. And instead we got a total reversal, to the point that now more and more Americans, and those that consider themselves to be sensible people, think that maybe there's a kind of a strong connection between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. It just really, all signs point in that one direction. It's amazing to me to see how people are coming to this realization. Moreover, I feel like it may be even a possible solution to the cult of personality that has developed around Donald Trump, that is that kind of just excuses everything he does. It's incredible. I think people in the future are going to look at this situation and just try to understand how people could follow Donald Trump, and it's a powerful effect. But we're
What to do? What to do? And but a lot of people understand that Donald Trump is wrong, really.
Yes, thank you. You're going to have to cut this. But this is an important key to the solution of the cult of personality. People follow him and don't understand why. But when people, at some point, what happens is people start to wonder, based on a variety of clues, that perhaps Donald Trump works with Vladimir Putin. And that seems to be a very helpful bridge to get people out of that cult of personality. So I think for those people that are stuck with somebody who feels, that they're in a cult of Trump, then I think speaking to them about the connection between Trump and Putin is direct and powerful, because Russia is not popular and Putin is not popular. And so I think that is a very important opening there for people. Should we be able to really, should it not be too late to exploit that important distinction? Because we spoke about the fact that Donald Trump had strong connections with Russia after the first time he won his presidency. We talked about it, then there were other problems, and we kind of forgot about it. But the reality is that the agenda of the Trump presidency matches Putin's checklist and wish list, like literally, specifically point for point, destroying NATO, destroying European Union, destroying the West, really, because these trade wars that we're getting ourselves into are going to destroy Western democracies, because now we have to respond. Canada, Mexico are going to be responding to all of this. This is a war that is breaking out, but so far nobody is literally dying. But we'll see, because those things will have its effect on, there will be people who will pass away because of this too, but that's not the point. The point is we're in just that this is Putin's wet dream. And I think that this understanding really scares people when they think about what Trump will offer next. Because he already, I had this feeling like on January 20th, we were going to have kind of a clock strikes midnight and Cinderella's ball at the Princess Palace is over, and all the planes that are flying to Ukraine are going to fly back, because that's who Donald Trump is. That's what his priorities have always been. That's what he advertised, not a penny for Ukraine. But no, he waited for the right moment, for the right situation, and we saw what happened at the White House. And I think this is where people divided. It's amazing to me how people divided along party lines of who they blame, whether they blame Trump or Zelensky for what happened at the White House. Whatever. I think that in the end, you have to remember the takeaway from that meeting is how Trump was speaking about how difficult Russiagate was for Putin and how Trump helped Putin get through this. They got through this together. He made sure to highlight that. I think that is the key takeaway. So what plans is he going to offer? Donald Trump wants to bring factories back. He wants to make America great again like it was in 19th century. Nobody seems to remember that time period. But I think it's important to acknowledge that women and minorities are playing a key role in 21st century America that they did not play in the 19th century America. And that's going to be the big challenge and the big hope for us going forward, is that women and minorities, which have gained a lot of rights since middle of the late 19th century, are going to help our society to move forward after this, let's consider temporary madness passes.
Yuri, listening to you, I remember that few days ago, Chris Murphy, a senator from Connecticut, a Democrat known for his active stance on healthcare, gun control, and international relations, noted on his post on X that food and gas prices are rising, bird flu is spreading, all our allies hate us, air travel is becoming dangerous, the stock market is collapsing, the government is about to shut down, and he's only been president for 6 weeks. This is just the beginning. So because of Donald Trump, not only we, you too, feel ourselves and yourself like not in fairy tale, but like in horror, correct?
Correct. I think that when it was, during first term of Trump presidency, there was a comedian, is still a comedian, but there was a joke made that Trump in power is like a horse in a hospital. And now, listening to the list of what you're describing, that is all true, for including the less safe air travel, the less safety people feel about this, certainly feel less safety about air travel, and stock market and allies, and on and on and on. I feel like horse in a hospital would be an improvement. I feel very much concerned about the situation, and I feel that when at the same time we are picking on people that are defending democracy, like Zelensky, and say that he's not wearing the right suit to appear in the White House, and at the same time we have somebody like Elon Musk, who certainly does not look to show much respect for the office of presidency, whether in his suit or with a, I mean, there's other people who have children in that room, but they don't never bring their kids to work. Why? Because Elon Musk is special, of course. He wants to highlight that he's special.
Very special. Very
special.
unusual, yes, with his dream.
He's precious. He's precious. But it's just not acceptable. And I think that my humble way of showing just support, I mean, I wear plenty of suits, I wear plenty of ties, and I feel great about that. But you know what? You got to have a sense of decency. And if you don't have a sense of decency, then I'm just going to have to show a picture and see if that gets a message across.
Yuri, let's discuss in details that pause of supporting Ukraine. We saw that CNN reported that US has suspended military aid to Ukraine to get Zelensky to admit guilt for the conflict in the White House. That's like Trump's response, like in childhood, you know, it seems to me. According to one of the agency's interlocutors, the decision to stop aid, which was made late on Monday, is a strategy to pressure Ukraine. In essence, the US president is forcing Ukraine to the negotiating table by threatening more losses on the battlefield, one of the officials told the agency. Earlier, we got to know that the Wall Street Journal reported that all of Trump's advisors agreed with the decision to suspend aid to Ukraine without voicing clear conditions for its resumption. The decision was made by Donald Trump personally. He entrusted the execution of the order to the new Minister of Defense, Pat Coxet. Zelensky beat the hand that feeds his ego. It seems that he is not yet ready to negotiate, says the press secretary of the White House, Caroline Leavitt. Let's listen to her. What goal does Donald Trump want to achieve by stopping aid to us? Do you see this as forcing us to capitulate, or it's only a part of his blackmail policy, and maybe someday the Cinderella will be free again?
I think there's only so much bad policy that can take place before reasonable suspicion is that perhaps it's just part of a different policy agenda, that perhaps the approach is not to help Ukraine at all, perhaps. And I think that whether we're discussing whether Zelensky fractured a fragile ego of the American president, and that was a big mistake on his part, or whether he revealed to the world that which had to be seen and he made it obvious, like the little boy who cried, the king is naked, the emperor has no clothes. That's a little bit of what we experienced. And if the boy goes back to the emperor to apologize, I think it should be done with the understanding that both king is, the emperor is still naked and he's angry. And so I think that at least going there and approaching new relations with continuing relations with Donald Trump from the point of view of maybe we can persuade him is just seems like a false approach to take. However, if this is done with the understanding that Ukraine is in a desperate situation and president of a country in a desperate situation has to do desperate things and in desperate times call for desperate measures. I don't know how many times I said we're desperate now, but it's what it is. So it will be understandable. If it will be understandable to a lot of people, it will break a lot of hearts. But if Zelensky has to apologize, to resume to beg Trump for help so that Ukraine gets help, I think a lot of people will understand it, will not fault him for it. The problem is that it reveals also, well, not reveals, it's another a time where we see how Donald Trump operates. It's very similar to KGB in a sense that it's not by producing things, but by destroying things. And he lords power by, he hasn't provided new ammunition. He's really just using the stuff that Joe Biden was trying to give, but hasn't left country yet, essentially, to now hold that hostage. Last time he did that with Ukraine, it led to his first impeachment, because that's what he did with those javelins, where he said, we'll give it to you, but you got to do us a favor to Zelensky and find us some dirt on Joe and Hunter Biden. And then, listen to Donald Trump, because he lists off those names like a Rolodex, so whatever. So I think that if Zelensky takes the approach of that he has to do things for his country, then that's one approach. But at least with the understanding that this is goodbye. This is a process of divorce between the Trump administration and Zelensky. Because Zelensky is a big problem for Trump. No, not really. I think Trump could change his opinion about Zelensky very easily, very quickly. But I think that Putin is the one who has a problem with Zelensky. And that's just not for Trump to fix. Trump here kind of says, like, this is not me. This is between you and Volodya over there. So if he doesn't like you, you should just take it up with him. You should have agreed with him long time ago. You're in a bad situation. You have no cards. It's embarrassing a little bit, a lot. As an American, as a public speaking instructor, to watch somebody do this kind of really bad public speaking job, and on the other hand, very revealing. But what are you going to do other than move forward? I think this is the key here. I think the key is to not worry about mending relations with Trump, because Trump will not like Zelensky as long as Putin doesn't like Zelensky. And it's key to just move on with Europe, move on with your own production as far as Ukraine. It's a time to look for allies around the world. I'm sure Ukraine has always been doing this, but it's just more time to put more emphasis on those relationships. South Korea, Canada, United States is now going to be pissing off everybody. So that's going to just create another circle of friends, because if United States is going to be with Russia and North Korea and China, then perhaps South Korea and Canada and Taiwan can be with Ukraine and Europe. So I think that there's some really exciting things that are happening in front of us, and it's only going to highlight how irrelevant some of those agreements have become, because those big agreements have been signed by lots of countries and been maintained for decades, don't seem to reflect the reality on the ground. Because when you have Hungary that can put brakes on things, or Trump, or United States, who, he could probably invite Russia to join NATO. It's just like old alliances might not work, and we're in an amazing time that is also being accompanied by the list of catastrophes that you've listed earlier, including, from economy, and let's not forget that there is also a measles outbreak in Texas.
The Kremlin praised Trump for stopping military aid to Ukraine. It's not new for us, this Kremlin position. They tried for 3 years to make such position from the U.S. and our allies. We know about it. U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to suspend military aid to Ukraine could be the best contribution to ending the war, said Russian Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov. The U.S. is already negotiating with Russia about the war in Ukraine, Vice President J.D. Vance said in an interview with Fox News. At the same time, he asserts that U.S. President Donald Trump doesn't perceive Russia's statements as truth in these negotiations. Vance also said that if the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, gets serious about the details, the U.S. will be ready to talk again. Let's listen together.
First 25, 30 or so minutes, he tried to sort of bend over backwards to be gracious and kind to Zelensky, even when Zelensky was kind of needling him, even when Zelensky was saying things that I thought were untrue. The president just tried to be diplomatic, right? I think that I tried again to say, well, maybe we should have this conversation in private, and the president was like, nope, actually, I don't want to have it in private anymore. I want to have this actual conversation in public for the American people to see. And I don't know about numerous calls, but they certainly made at least one request to come back in and continue the conversation. The president was like, look, first of all, they were disrespectful. And second of all, what are we even going to talk about? They've shown a clear unwillingness to discuss the peaceful settlement that President Trump is trying to bring to the situation. I think a lot of Americans are sort of, it's useful to step back and ask ourselves, what is the actual plan here?
So, okay, Yuri, do you see any point in Zelensky returning to the US, not to the US, to this administration, Trump, J.D. Vance and others? Or will the US already make a deal with Putin's? And has Trump taken Putin's position entirely in general in all points?
Look, it depends on what Zelensky cares about. If he cares about guarantees of safety, no, there is no point in dealing with Trump anymore. If he is interested in more weapons, I'm not sure that there's a point in dealing with Trump, because it's impossible for me really to imagine him even restarting what he has frozen so far. Yes, it is frozen. It is not canceled. It is, it has a very temporary meaning to it, but it's just part of his approach. Putin wouldn't like if I did this, so I'm not going to do this, X, Y, Z, whatever. So if the goal is to just be friends with Trump without those two things, then there could be reason for that, because the reality is we are watching the world where alliances are shifting rather fast and hard. And the United States, for all the maladies that Donald Trump has already dumped onto our country and his people are continuing to dump all over us, is still going to be a formidable military threat. And I am just looking at this, and I hope that there will not be American military planes and, who knows what else, that we will not be sending weapons to Russia, and we will not be helping to make Ukraine into the next Syria to help Russia, all of that kind of stuff that is just horrific. That in that sense, maybe it makes sense to still be nice to Trump a little bit. And I think that that's just understanding of where we are. Because if Fox News is showing this interview with Vice President J.D. Vance, who is sitting there and providing very nice excuses, it's kind of like the police officer showed up and said, we have this complaint from your wife. What would you like to tell us? Well, we were sitting there, and if he's very reasonable, he's good at presenting. No one has ever argued that J.D. Vance actually controls his delivery. So when he was acting as he was acting in Europe, for instance, that was on purpose. He is a very purposeful, very polished speaker who is trying to cover up, almost like an accusation of abuse, speaking to a police detective, trying to present his side of the story, doing the right things. He's sitting upright, he's smiling, he's showing open palms, he's doing the right things, projecting confidence. But what is he also doing? He's giving permission structure to people who are going, did I just see American president touch a Ukrainian president and try to tell him that he has got no cards, like we're in a casino of some sort? Did I just see that? And this is where J.D. Vance can say, well, no, you did not just see that. What really happened, and that's the world that Fox News would like its viewers to live in, and its viewers would like to use Fox News as a comfortable blanket to cover themselves against all dangers of the world. But when things will go up in price, as they are bound to start practically immediately, it's going to be interesting to watch President Trump speak about what he's done with prices, as prices are going to skyrocket. So far, prices index have already skyrocketed, but it's going to get worse because that's his policies. Again, you start to wonder to what point this is really being done because he doesn't understand how 2 + 2 is 4, or because he was told to do this, and he was explained why this is a good thing, even though this is totally wrong for America or any country. I don't know, maybe if somebody was, if instead of Putin, there was an American agent who just started sending out emails saying, mass layoffs in FSB, mass layoffs in GRU, mass layoffs in Russian military. Oh, all the generals, you're fired. That would not help, at least the Russian military machine either. So I think the situation here is very clear that we live in two different realities, because if you're watching Fox News, then even commercials are sending you a message that President Trump is doing a great thing by securing our safety and our future by exchanging the precious minerals from Ukraine for what we have given them already. Therefore, this is a good thing for us and a good thing for whoever else. We don't care. It's already promoting, like there's messages on Fox News promoting Trump agenda and giving those that are maybe were doubting themselves the language they need to explain then to others why this is all good. In Russia, this moment was discussed as the battle between TV and refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And because like, who is going to beat? Is this reality of refrigerator going to win? Because Russian people at some point are going to realize that Putin's policies are destructive to their country, or TV is going to win because TV, well, TV tells you, or if you don't follow TV, there will be consequences. You know, like the Yakov Smirnov used to say, in Russia, TV watches you. So this is what, you know, so where we are. And in the battle here so far in America, historically, refrigerator has won. I mean, look at us. But I think that this is going to be a big challenge for all of us. And it's really, for those that follow Vitaly Portnikov and listen to his conversations about identity, this is the crux of it. This is where we are as America, as a country, where we have to decide what is our American identity. Is it Trump, or is it not Trump? And is it everything that was before Trump, except for Trump, or is it Trump? And that's a big, big conversation that Americans are having right now.
A majority in a new survey disapprove of President Trump's job performance ahead of his scheduled address to Congress. In the CNN poll released Sunday and conducted in the final 5 days of last month, 52% of respondents said that they do not support the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president. 48% say they do support the president's performance. Pollsters also found 39% of respondents said the country would go toward a right direction through the policies being proposed by Donald Trump, while 45% disagreed. So we see that Americans don't assess Trump's policy as a wonderful, great, and such policy which can make America great again.
Well, I remember the famous words from Soviet singer Alla Pugacheva, "То ли еще будет." This is just, there'll be more. I think this is just the beginning of the tremendous, amazing decline in popularity that, as far as consumer support, we'll see. Of course, this is already being experienced by Musk, Elon Musk and his Tesla, because that the stock keeps going down, 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 because consumers are very unhappy. They're also specifically unhappy with Elon Musk because he's specifically promoting an agenda that is abhorrent to his customer base. So that there's additional problems there. And so his drop in popularity and Tesla sales are going down. But Elon Musk's solution could be that he just doesn't need small customer clients so much because he's an oligarch now. He can just have government buy his stuff. He can just provide Starlink for government and make money and everybody's happy. Yeah, except for Verizon. But the important number that I found in a survey was that something like 45% of people think that countries is doing great or moving in the right direction or something like that. And to me, that signifies that Trump's base is fundamentally happy. They're still thrilled. They still feel like, ooh, Trump is showing them, because they're maybe they shop at Costco. They shop at those warehouse stores where you buy groceries far in advance. And so, you know, as things slow down in their fridge, as they need to buy new things, that the things go up in price, maybe there will be some kind of connection. But at the moment, surveys that were done up till now reflecting reality, whatever that is, a few days ago, it's only the beginning, because right now what's going on is that Donald Trump is knocking out the chair underneath the economy, so I would say. So as all of this collapse starts to come down on people, including possible delays in Social Security payments, America has never had that before, and now we could be looking at delays in people getting their retirement, their pensions. That could be delayed. We'll see. If this is a democracy, that means that voters have a voice. That means that Republicans will hear it, but they're already hear it. Right now, they just think that it's paid voices. Right now, they say, well, all those angry people at town halls, they're really just, paid protesters. I like Democrats' response. Leader Jeffrey said, we don't need to pay people. They're just angry at you. So that's what's going on in America.
But in our another interviews on Russian-Ukrainian interests, you told me that big protests is not the best way to solve the problem and not best solution. But we see that in this case, in Donald Trump's behavior and his steps, sometimes maybe it will be one of the best way. Or what instruments can stop Trump from society, American clear society?
I think American society is exercising all tools that it has and just trying to see what's going to work. We've counted on courts to help us stand against the destructive policies. The courts are struggling. It's just a lot of things. They're moving slowly through the system. It takes time. At the same time, protests are going to develop bigger and bigger as more and more groups are affected. Because first you have people protesting for immigrants. Then you have people protesting for, right now, people are protesting for Ukrainians. Now you're going to have people protesting for veterans, because we're probably going to have homeless veterans here pretty soon, because we have people that are being fired and laid off from federal jobs who are veterans. I think a third of people laid off, if not half, are veterans, which means we're going to have struggling veterans. Like, at what point is all of this going to get to our society to the point? So so they're joining the protests as well, and those are just going to grow exponentially from people who lose money in stock market. I don't know. Everybody is going to line up as complaints. And they're going to complain, first of all, to Republican lawmakers and Democratic lawmakers. Democratic lawmakers are like, yes, of course, yes, we're full, thumbs up, do it, totally, of course, yes, yes. But at the same time, what is going to happen with Republican lawmakers? They need to have some other organ besides heart that would could help them through this difficult situation, because they look at personal threats, which is not easy, and they look at personal and professional loss of job, which is not easy. So they probably should just quit, I guess, I don't know, or become Democrats or something, because being Republican right now just doesn't seem like a really friendly place to be anymore. I mean, like they used to be, at least against Russia. I don't know, they're just now for Donald Trump. So people are using tools that they have. Elections, here in Wisconsin, we're going to have elections coming up first Tuesday in April, and we're going to have Judge Crawford, who's going to be running, and Elon Musk, she's running for Supreme Court. Elon Musk is spending millions of dollars right here in Wisconsin because he understands that's where you have to win every election to dominate the system, and the battle is local just as much as it is international. And so people are using every tool in our toolbox. We're using, I think speaking out is something that people are also rediscovering. People are seeing the value of the First Amendment, the importance of the First Amendment, that it's not just to protect crazy people from, being able to say crazy things, but this is just to allow people to speak out against our government, which is doing unconscionable things, such as stopping all aid to Ukraine. I think people are just absolutely incensed about this in the United States. And I think, and the fact that there's a growing number of Democrats who are, because Democrats are trying to figure out how to respond, right? Do you stand quietly by, or do you argue? And even at the State of the Union, you have some Democrats who are just not going to be there, and some Democrats that are going to bring with them guests who are people who are fired from federal jobs for no reason whatsoever. So because there's mass layoffs now because Elon Musk is running our government. He's like our prime minister, I guess, who decided that he doesn't like government, like he works for some other government. I don't know. So this is the situation. People are incensed, and I think it is really, I'm just curious. I'm so curious about what is going to happen when enough people understand the connection between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and what's going to happen then.
I don't know what organ and tools Tommy Tuberville, a Republican senator, uses regularly, but he told that ultimately the decisions for the future of Ukraine will be made by Putin, Trump, and the people on our side, like Tommy Tuberville told Newsmax. Let's listen together.
Zelensky, for some reason, wants this war to keep going, and he has been I guess, brainwashed by the globalist socialist group in Europe, and even some over here, that, hey, just keep this thing going. We'll keep funneling money to you. But they couldn't be more wrong. President Trump is tired of people dying, our American taxpayer dollars going over there, and so he'll try to get this finished. But Zelensky's going to play hardball. But you know what? He's not even in the game. It's going to be Putin and President Trump and the people on our side that will end up making this decision for the future of Ukraine.
But there are many voices that support Ukraine, both among Republicans and among Democrats. And we know that Democrats prepare to disrupt Trump's speech. So will Congress stop Trump or stop aid to Ukraine?
I think that Congress is, at this point, is expressing its opinion, and we see that Donald Trump doesn't hold Congress in much respect. On the other hand, after hearing Senator Tuberville deliver this statement about how Donald Trump will decide and Vladimir Putin will decide the fate of Ukraine, I can see why he doesn't hold senators in high regard. That's a very ballsy statement from Senator Tuberville. And of course, him being a former football coach, maybe it makes sense, but he's just playing for the wrong team here. He has lost all sense of what's going on. And I think that's interesting with him, though, that while he's not a deep thinker, at least that's not his reputation, and he's never demonstrated it, but he is also at the same time able to convey for us the bullet points. That is really, I feel like, what's been delivered to him, and those are the bullet point messages that he needs to get out there and deliver, which he does. Crossed that finish line and scored that touchdown. Oh boy. And his base in Alabama probably thinks exactly like that. We should stop spending money somewhere else. We should start spending money in Alabama. Oh, wait, federal government's going to be cut. Alabama's not going to get any federal, bunch of federal services. What veterans? Oh, I'm sorry. So you see that there's going to be this crash of reality again, TV versus refrigerator, because Senator Tuberville can say all sorts of things about global socialist funding and this, it's a business venture, this Ukraine thing. It's just Zelensky's trying to make money, and Europe is making money, and poor American taxpayer is just funding this cabal of profiteering. It's interesting because look at who's in power in Washington, D.C. now. And if this doesn't once again smell of projection, which is such a powerful psychological phenomenon, it's just amazing to help see people's motives. So I think that to say that Trump and Putin are going to decide the fate of Ukraine really brings us to the very key point of our conversation here, and that is does Ukraine have its own agency? Is Ukraine in charge of Ukraine? Is Ukraine just a kind of a subsidiary of the United States and Europe? And if United States specifically is not participating, that means that I guess there is no Ukraine. If that is the situation that we're dealing with, then Donald Trump can sell and buy Ukraine because he owns it, because without him there is no Ukraine. But if without Donald Trump there is still Ukraine, then he's like selling hot air. And that really makes this whole thing, on one hand, very pointless. On the other hand, extremely painful, because so many people are dying in the meantime. And at least I'm glad that it's, as far as these kinds of conversations go, it is my impression that Europe is awake and kind of scared and possibly freaked out, but is doing everything it can, and hopefully it is awakening, not like a Gulliver. Well, sorry, old reference. Somebody just, let's say a football player under a bunch of other football players coming to his senses, going, "Ooh, this is going to be difficult to get under from under off." So I think that this is important. Actually, this makes me think of a famous rugby player who ended up being a spokesman for colonoscopy ads, because when he was at the bottom of a pile he would apparently take his finger and stick it in another player's behind, which would immediately clear up the pile on. So maybe it's time for those kinds of actions. But I believe in Ukraine, and there's a lot of people around the world that believe in Ukraine, and I think that Ukraine была, есть и будет, и слава Украине.
Героям нашим слава. Thank you very much, Yuri, for this conversation and for your position. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
Yuri Rashkin, host of the YouTube channel Rashkin Report and local elected official in Wisconsin, was with us today. My name is Irina Uzlova. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels, War and Politics 24, Rashkin Report, and also Rashkin Report in English. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much.